Hey, what's up guys? Mike here. Today we are finally going to be tearing down the old haunted forest tank, my first take on a forest aquarium, and transforming it into a brand new one that I think you guys are really going to like. If you guys are new, I'll fill you in on this tank. We set it up about a year ago. I think it's getting close. This was my first attempt at this style of aquarium. It never really turned out to be what I wanted it to be. It was really hard to balance and get everything right. I think I've learned from my mistakes. It was a little bit later that I eventually set up the forest style tank upstairs that a lot of you guys love so much, and it's the goal today to try and create something similar but with a new little flair to it down here in this 40-gallon breeder aquarium. First things first guys, we need to get the fish out of this aquarium because we're going to be tearing all of this out. So we're going to drain some water from this aquarium down into this 30-gallon tote, and we're going to hold the fish here until the scape is ready for them to go back in. I'm slowly starting to deconstruct the top portion of the aquascape, guys, trying not to get the water super cloudy or anything, but it's kind of impossible. I'm taking out a lot of the anubias and I'm just placing it over here in this bucket because I want to eventually use it. We're not going to be getting rid of it. It has a ton of algae kind of all over it on pretty much every piece in here, and so we're just going to throw it in the bucket for, you know, a little while and let that algae die off. Alright guys, we got our blank canvas all ready. That took me a long time to get to this point. All the fish are over here in the bucket, and then we have, look at all this wood that was in the tank, guys. This main stump that was in the middle, just so much spider wood. I mean, the crazy amount of decomp. A lot of this is just super dunzo. Okay, we could still reuse it though, so we're gonna keep it. Here's some leftover lava rock that was in the tank, and now we just need to decide where to start here. I'm not sure if we're gonna be using Suryu stone as the base rock or more lava rock. We have both. We have a couple buckets more of that over there, but I want to start real quick with this right here. I reached out to my man Glenn at manzanitadirect.com. I told him about my project here, that I needed some really nice pieces of manzanita wood for the trees here in the forest tank, and so he sent me this humongous box filled with awesome pieces, guys. I haven't even really looked through this. Look at how nice this is packaged. We got enough newspaper to wash our windows for a year. Thank you, Glenn. But being serious, I mean, this is awesome. Like, these are packed super well. There's no chance that any of these pieces are going to be breaking. And just look at some of these sticks, man. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to start digging through this box, finding the pieces that I want to start playing with for a layout here. But guys, if you want to get some manzanita wood, you can go to his website. It's manzanitadirect.com, and you can use my code DIY15 to get 15% off if you happen to need some of this awesomeness. Look at that. Way up out of the tank. This is crazy. Okay, I knew the box was heavy, but yeah, look at this piece. It's huge. I mean, I had no idea there was going to be this much wood. This is insane. Wow. Glenn, I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for sending me this stuff, man. This is just amazing. Like, I don't even think we're going to get close. We might use a decent amount of this wood in this tank, but we're definitely going to have a lot of wood left over for some future tanks, guys, and who knows? I mean, if this one turns out good, we might just have to do one that's even bigger. I don't know. So here we go, guys. Here's the first draft of what I have so far, and I think we're gonna just go ahead and call it a night. The plants also showed up. Let's walk over here, try not to trip on some rocks. We got all the plants for the tank. There's a bunch of extras as well that we're not gonna be using, but we have, look at this, Nice mini coral moss, aka, why can't I think of it? Mini Pelia. How could I forget you? You're one of my absolute favorites. That came in looking really good. Some of the mosses, however, didn't. So we have, I believe this was the peacock moss, and then over here was the Christmas moss. So we're gonna have to kind of figure that out. Not a huge deal. I have some spare stuff that I've trimmed off of my tanks that we're gonna be using. And then we have a bunch of these little mini buces, just a ton of those. Some stems that we're not gonna be using. I also have some of these small Java ferns. We might use those up in the front of the tank, not 100% sure, but there's some other stuff I think back in here as well. Planting will definitely be taking place tomorrow, as will, you know, some moving around of some of this stuff. I just want to sleep on it and come back and take a look at it tomorrow with a fresh eye. There was a lot of back and forth with how to position this log. I originally had it kind of flipped over the other way so it blocks more of the scape in the front, but you had a better view of what will eventually be a stream that runs through this, guys. I don't think I mentioned that before, but that's one of the goals for the scape, is to try and figure out how to incorporate something that looks a lot like a stream, almost like we have a little river running through the middle here. We got to dump a bunch of substrate back in the back there to lift that up so our smaller twigs can sit up a little bit taller. And so, yeah, I mean, we got some more work to do. There's, you know, it's going to be a full day tomorrow, but yeah, I'm liking it so far. I need to give a quick shout out to Kessel for sending me one of their new A360X fixtures. We're running that here on the tank. I think this is probably going to be what we're going to have to use, just because, I mean, it's obvious, right? We're not going to be able to get a fixture over the top of this tank with all this wood sticking out the top. So this is perfect. They sent me the arm, which is absolutely necessary for what we're doing here. And you might have noticed something that you haven't seen ever before. If you're a Kessel fan, you have these LEDs. We have their new Wi-Fi dongle. This is a separate purchase, but you get it, you plug it into, I believe it's the new X series is what this dongle works for, and it's gonna let you Wi-Fi control your Kessel light. So here I have the app pulled up. We have it on the manual setting. I can slide it here for the intensity. That's pretty sweet. And then this one adjusts the amount of blue that we have. A lot of stuff that you can do in this app, guys. You can run different effects on the tank. You can create your own custom mode. So here we have a 24/7 mode that I made. So it ramps up, goes through a daytime period, and then ramps back down for a nighttime. So I'm having fun playing around with this. This is the first time that I've ever had a standard Kessel light. I've used some of their refugium lights in the past for some of my smaller planted tanks. Kind of works like a nano tank light, but this is cool. So I appreciate them sending me this. I think it's gonna end up working perfectly on this tank. So if you have a Kessel, you want a Kessel, and you're interested in the new Wi-Fi dongle, there will be a link for it down in the description. Check it out. Thank you very much, Kessel. I decided not to call it a night quite yet, guys. I needed to do a little bit more visualizing, so I decided to go with the Brightwell Rio Cafe XF. This is the smaller granule size and brown version of their active substrate, and this is what we have upstairs in the forest tank, and I think that the brown color just goes better with the theme. What I'm trying to do is just mound this up more on the sides and then create a little bit more of a pinch here in the middle to help the illusion of depth. And then of course by adding in the smaller sticks, I'm having a hard time getting them up high enough because I didn't build the substrate in the back quite tall enough. So I'm just adding more substrate and hoping that does the job. Okay guys, so taking a little bit of time to check the tank out this morning with some fresh eyes. I moved a few pieces around. I added another stump in here on the left to kind of close this out, and then I decided to go back with the fallen log here over the middle. I think I got it in a good enough spot, a spot that I'm happy with. It was tough to find, but we're just gonna go for it. I got everything shot back out of the stream area here. The only thing I'm contemplating is whether or not to raise the back of the stream up a little bit higher, so it kind of pinches in the middle here, but I almost want it to be like upwards a little bit. I want it to feel like the stream is going downhill, so that means I probably need to come back in here. Let's see if we can get a good shot of it. I need to lift this rock in the back up a little bit taller. You can see it's right there. Kind of lift that up a little bit, put something underneath it, and maybe pinch this a little bit more so it's almost like the stream is coming from around this corner maybe. Once I'm happy with the layout of the stream, then the only thing we have to do is glue everything together and hope that it stays in place when we fill the tank up. That's always kind of a challenge with a scape like this. A lot of the sticks in the back here are just stuck in the substrate and they will float up to the top. I used a few pieces of spider wood just because I didn't have everything that I needed of the manzanita wood, but no problem. It's exactly what I did upstairs with the forest tank. Once the wood is underwater for a few weeks, it all kind of looks the same anyways. Cue the epic gluing montage now. I sure do love a good glue sesh, guys. I think we got everything. I mean, we'll only know once we fill the tank up, right, and stuff starts to float up. But hopefully the big pieces don't do that. If some in the, the little pieces in the back do, it's not a big deal. It should only take a few days, maybe a week tops, to get those pieces to be waterlogged, and we can just put them back in place. Some of the glue is still curing, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and start with the planting, guys, all right? The best part, the part that I've been waiting for, and you've probably been waiting for too, so let's head over and check out what we're going to use. So we've already kind of looked at a few of these. I mentioned the Java ferns. I think these are the ones that we're going to start with. This is a great plant because it's a rhizome. We don't have to put it in the substrate. We have all kinds of little nooks and crannies in the scape to poke these plants into, and they should do just fine in there. These are probably going to be some of the larger leafed plants. We're going to focus on putting them in the front of the tank. Again, always thinking about the scale. We want to have larger stuff in front, smaller stuff towards the back, but we'll probably end up mixing in a little bit of both. Now that we have those in, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start to plant some of this really small bucephalandra. I lost the bag, but I'll put the name of it on screen. This stuff is awesome. It's really small leafed and it has this kind of unique dark brown almost color. I don't really even know what color it is, and who knows what it's going to look like once we get it filled up with water, but I think it's going to be awesome. We also have some anubias nana petite, just your standard stuff, and then we have another boost. This is Boost Helios, and so a little bit larger boost. It's also green, looks a lot like the anubias nana petite. So we're just going to put those all around the tank, kind of sprinkle them in, focus on, having them be down at the base of the aquarium. Probably put some up a little bit higher as well, just to add some character. Now we got to think a little bit like what we're going to do in the foreground. I originally was going to take the hair grass that was in the haunted tank and put that in the front and kind of towards the middle and back, but it ended up being kind of covered in cyano, and I don't really want to mess with that. So we don't have a ton of hair grass. We're going to have to get some more before we can finish out the scape, but we'll get pretty close here. And then no forest scape would be complete without a ton of moss, guys. So we have a mix of peacock moss and mini Christmas moss that we're going to put pretty much all over this tank. I think that's going to look really awesome in this scape and just really round it out and have it look pretty much like what you would see in a forest if you were to take a peek down a little forest stream. So here we are about 2 hours after starting planting, guys, and it feels a little bit like there's something missing. I left a lot of areas bare here just for the time being because I wanted to see how it looked. I managed to get quite a few of the branches in the back covered in moss, but what I want to do now is just go ahead and fill the tank up, make sure everything's going to stay in place, and then we can always drain it down and do a little bit more moss coverage if we want after we see how it looks when it's filled up. I'm getting nervous on this one, guys. We got a lot of wood in this tank, and it's not small wood. So this is gonna get kind of freaky here, man. Once we start to get up to a little over the halfway point, we really got our fingers crossed and hope everything is secure. I have a bad feeling that at least one piece is gonna float up. It's just which one is it, Hopefully it's not that one or that one, or well, there are any of them. I'm getting better at this whole gluing thing, guys. It's now a day later. The tank's been filled up for about 24 hours, and it looks like nothing floated up. So I'm quite frankly, I'm really surprised. The pieces in the back it was kind of crazy. Like, some of them are glued together, and then there's like glue on the glass on a couple places to hold some of these in place. Like, it just worked out, and I'm super, super happy about it. If we filled this tank up with spider wood, 24 hours later of being submerged, this tank would have a ton of ammonia in it, and probably already some nitrite, okay? So I'm just curious. Let's go ahead and let's run a nitrogen water parameter test on this, and let's see how much, if any, nitrogen comes off of this wood. And by come off of the wood, I mean the bacterial decomp of the outer layer of wood. That's what happens with the spider wood, and that's where a lot of people can have problems when they're redoing a tank and then thinking they can add fish right away. So that looks super green on camera with the light, guys, but I promise that it's completely yellow. So we have no ammonia in the tank. We ran a strip here to see if there was any nitrite. There is no nitrite in the water either. And that's one of the benefits of having this really nice sandblasted manzanita wood that gets rid of all of the softer stuff on the outside that would decompose faster. But that's not to say that this can't be an eventual source of ammonia. As long as you have an existing established filter, there should 100% be no issues. We're gonna take the biomedia from our existing filter, put it into an AWASA FiltoSmart Thermo 200 and get that thing running on this tank to match the other aquariums, and because it has a built-in heater. That's going to allow us to not have to find a place to hide a heater in this tank, guys. We're going to have a hard enough time figuring out where to put the input and the output. We don't want to have to mess with a heater, that's for sure. I just did a drain fill on the aquarium, guys, to get it a little bit less cloudy for you. The manzanita itself doesn't release a lot of tannins, especially this really nice sandblasted stuff. But pretty much whenever you completely redo a tank, the water is going to look a little cloudy the next day. So I did that, and then I realized we should probably be safe rather than sorry and add in some fresh bacteria to the tank, and now it's all cloudy again. So I apologize, but the reason why I did that is even though we did take cycled media from our old filter and put it into our new filter, you never know. I've never had it be an issue, but we got the whole fridge full of turbo start, guys, so this is just going to help the cycle start even faster, even though we would have had it going anyway on this. It's only going to help the cycle completely go through, and you know, even when you do a little transfer like this, the nitrite oxidizers are always slow to show up to the party, so I feel a lot more comfortable adding in that culture. So we should be all good to add fish to this aquarium, guys, once it gets back up to the right temperature. But these guys, a majority of them are going to get picked up by my buddy today. We're going to keep Ziggy, don't worry. You diehard fans out there, remember Ziggy. We can't get rid of him, but the idea is to bring the smaller curais from the forest tank upstairs and bring them down here and kind of start fresh. We'll save that for another video though, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this forest tank with a stream. I don't know what we're going to call this aquarium. Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know if you like the scape or if it should have something else going on with it. Maybe some more trees in the back. Let me know down in the comments below, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next one.